Okay, so last week we talked about Pythagorean theorem, right? I even mentioned, hopefully you guys do know someone that does construction, and you guys asked them the 3-4-5 rule, and they said, yeah, that it's in construction, which is Pythagorean theorem, right? I mentioned it last week. Now, what we're going to be going is that based on that formula, remember how that formula we learned Pythagorean theorem was a squared plus b squared has to equal to c squared. And that happens when we have a right triangle, right? When the angle is 90 degrees. Now here it's asking, state if each triangle is a right triangle. So we have the three measurements. Now the question is a squared plus b squared equal to c squared? This is more like a yes or no type of question. Now from the sides, a squared, b squared, c squared is the biggest of the three. Okay, now which one is a squared, which one is b squared? It doesn't matter. Just c squared is the hypotenuse, the biggest of all. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to square each of my sides. So taking a look at number 23, 11 squared, I know is 121. Right? It's easy to square a number. Just multiply by itself. 11 squared again is 121. Now, when we have a radical by itself, the radical 170, when we square it, this radical 170 times the radical 170, it will give me 170. It's easy to square the radical. You just get the number on the inside. Okay, so I can tell I did everything there squared. So I did a squared, b squared, and c squared. We can tell 170 is c squared, right? Because it's the biggest one. Now, my question here, this is a right triangle if 121, let me add the two small numbers. 121 plus 121 equals 170, which is the big side. Now my question here it is 121 plus 121 equal to 170, and my answer should be no. So nope, we don't have a right triangle. The angle of the corner, this corner, is not 90 degrees. So those that put floors, tile, build houses and everything, they will be like, oh no, I'm crooked. That's not a good corner. It's not 90 degrees. Now let's take a look at number 24. Right. Let me square everything, right? 7 squared is 49. 15 squared, it's 225. Right? It's easy to square a whole number because it's multiplied by itself. It was easy when we only had a radical, right? We saw that in question 23. But now, what happens when we have a whole number and a radical? If I only had the 4, if I only had the whole numbered, 4 squared is 16. Let me put that inside parentheses. If I only had the radical 11 squared is 11. Because remember, I just get the number inside. So if I had only the 4, it would be 4 squared is 16. If I only had the radical, it would be 11. Because I have both, let me multiply them out. 16 times 11, it's 176. Okay, I can tell 225 is my c square, right? Because that's the biggest. So what I'm asking here it is 176 plus 49. Is this equal to 225? Add the two smaller ones, and it has to equal to the big one. 176 plus 49 indeed is 225. So my answer would be yes. Yep, this is the right triangle. Corner is 90 degrees. Let's take a look at number 25. Let me square each of my numbers. So 11 squared is 121. 7 squared is 49. Square root of 170 squared is 170. So let me add the two small numbers, 121 plus 49. And my question here it is this equal to 170? 121 plus 49 is 170. So yes, that is a right triangle. Take a look at number 26. Let me square each of my numbers. 4 squared is 16, right? 4 times 4 is 16. 17 times 17 is 289. Now here, the 6 radical 5. If I only had the 6, 6 squared will be 36. If I only had the radical, will be 5, right? Because when you square a radical, you just get the number on the inside. Because I have both, let me multiply it. 36 times 5 is 180. I can tell 289 is my c square. So what I'm asking here is 16 plus 180 equal to 289? 16 plus 180 is 196, not 289. So nope, this is not a right triangle. Right? A squared plus b squared equals c squared only happens when we have a right triangle.